Thanks a lot, folks, for joining in. I think we have 50 plus folks on the call today. Maybe we can just do a quick round of intros. We start with Tyler on the far end.
Sure. Hello, everyone. My name is Tyler Chan. I'm one of the architects on this team here, and main focuses are going to be the Zero Trust workshop. You guys are familiar with that. And then also used to be the owner of the EDU vertical and recently transitioned over to owning the healthcare vertical. So next, I'll pass it down to Ramiro.
Hi, everybody. I'm Ramiro Calderon. I'm an architect in the CxE team, working mostly on what we call identity and access management. So identity governance, the core IAM objects in Entra, and also working a lot with the Zero Trust workshop, Zero Trust assessment. And I'm passionate to help customers to get out of on-premises into the cloud. And with that, I'll pass it to Ehud.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ehud Itzhaki. I'm an identity architect in the same team with these guys. And my focus is on the AI investment, the impact that AI has on identity system, as well as focusing very much on our government customers. And I'll pass it to Thomas.
Thank you. Hey, guys. I'm Thomas. Same team as the rest of the crew here. My focus is GSA, Global Secure Access. So all of the, network and identity awareness, but I also focus or help with the Zero Trust assessment work. So all the network pillar guidance in there, that's me and my virtual team. So passing it on to Travis.
Hello, my name is Travis Gross, and I manage the IDNA team for Mike Adams' CxE organization.
Hey folks, my name is Keith Brewer. Again, same team as the rest of the folks you see here. I'm aligned specifically with our authentication processes, so anything around our authentication stack and identity security, as well as working with our U.S. government customers across federal, civilian, DoD, and Intel.
Hey everyone, there's quite a lot of us, so I'm going to go pretty quick. I recognize some familiar faces on the call. I'm Jazz, so I'm on the same team as everyone else here. I focus on CIAM, so Customer Identity and Access Management. So I recognize some faces from the Azure AD B2C times, and now I focus on Entra ID and passwordless. Derek.
Yeah. Hi, thanks. Hi everyone, my name is Tarek Daoud. I'm the lead architect of this architecture team, and I currently focus on AI use for security, so agentic things, natural language interfaces with security products, specifically Entra. And I also invested in the security for AI features. How do you secure AI things in your environment? And then I traditionally also do manufacturing as well as Entra resilience as areas of focus.
Cool. Awesome. I think we start off with the question. So Mark has the first question here. So it's quite a long one. And this one is for, I would say, Ehud, who's lead for all things AI. So Mark is asking, as agentic AI descends upon us with self-replicating identities, they spring up in environments. It seems that anomaly detection is going to become much more difficult. And then he's asking, there's a case to be made that instead of a static point in time audits that we do today, right, the dynamic metrics, we need to measure identity drift, access velocity, all of that. Can you speak to any plans that Microsoft have in this regard?
That is a great question, Mark. So the first thing that we've heard from customer is, as this agent show, what kind of identities they should be treated as? Are they user identities? Are they application identities? Right? How do I basically identify agents as such? How do I deal with a sprawl of agent? So the first thing that we had to tackle is we had to come up with the first class identity for agent, as this would allow us to distinguish agents from non-agent. Once we're at that point, then we can talk about the security features that we have. And specifically, You bring up the aspect, I think, of behavioral analytics, right? What kind of metrics, what is the behavior of agent, and so on. So the current machine learning algorithm that we're using for users or for applications don't fit agents because agents behave differently. So if I look at users and I decide that any sort of user accessing 100 documents in an hour looks like suspicious behavior, for agents, thousands and multiple thousands of application won't be an issue. And that won't be suspicious behavior. Or the other end, it will become suspicious behavior for no good reason. So we have to start thinking about behavior analytics that is tailored for agent and is grounded on the fact that we can identify agent from others. And when we have that, then we can talk about having different metric, more dynamic metrics for agent versus non-agent. So that's how we tend to think about it.
Next question is, I don't know who wants to take this one. What is the biggest enhancement to identity security in the last 6 months? Ooh. Who wants to pick your favorite feature?
I think that's you're excited about, right?
Yes, yeah, what you're excited about.
Not the boring one.
So I think probably if you think about it holistically, one of the biggest shifts would be kind of the understanding that not all MFA is equal, right? So the introduction of the concept of authentication strengths and the development and the ability for our customers to use phishing-resistant authentication methods. And so I would say that's probably one of the most exciting ones in the sense of hands down, one of the biggest attack vectors we see is phishing. And so adding phishing-resistant authentication and enforcement capabilities within conditional access for enforcing the use of phishing-resistant authenticators has been a pretty big one.
For me personally, actually even judging by the chat and the questions in the chat, is actually all the stuff we're doing to secure AI. And it's in infancy. It will not satisfy Mark Renenden. I can declare that already before it even comes out. But it is exciting because like literally you got people revising SCIM protocol, they're revising OAuth 2 protocol. You get it? You're at that inflection point. You're literally shaping how our industry will secure itself against agents or get it wrong and how people will be scammed for the next 10 years. So it is exciting. So that's what excites me personally. Look for, I can't really tell you the specific, but in Ignite, you'll see a bunch of capabilities around that. And it will be really cool stuff. Look forward.
I have one.
Oh, Ramiro is excited.
So I know that we have a lot of energy around AI, securing AI, AI for security. But the fundamentals and the core of identity, one of the things that we have a long time coming that I'm very excited that is building up to it is the source of authority transfer of objects in the directory. So that I think is an important capability to help customers to optimize their environment so they can, over time, move how they manage and do more stuff on the cloud, where all these other capabilities around, identity governance and lifecycle management and all these cool capabilities that we have in the cloud can also affect changes back on premises, or even better, helping cleaning up on-premises environments altogether and reduce risk over time. So that's one of the ones that is close to my heart and is something I'm pretty excited that is coming together this year.
Something that I'm excited about is a lot of the new agents that we have in the pipeline. Super excited to see how you guys use them as we release them around Ignite. I'm sure a lot of you guys have already seen the conditional access agent. And I think that agents really will change the way that you guys interact with Entra ID in general and manage your security environment. So it will be interesting to see how that evolves and help to shape your guys' security posture.
I have a good one for Jazz. So with regards to extra, when will we be able to sync accounts from workforce tenant into external ID? So yeah, the hard one.
You definitely gave me a hard one there, man. Maybe one day in the future, as part of how we're bringing external ID into the core Entra stack, we should hopefully see core enterprise capabilities kind of proliferate into the Entra external ID side. I don't think I can share anything more than that, but
This is called Kaufman, and he said,
sure.
I know we can invite. We would like to be able to automate that from the workforce tenant.
Yeah, so inviting users probably to be like consumer users in Entra external ID. I'm assuming that's what the question is. So
Go to the cross-tenant thing.
cross-tenant sync.
That will bring some people from workforce to the extra ID tab.
So again, that's another core Entra capability. I think down the line we might see that come in, but it's not there just yet. A couple of customers have asked for this, so yeah, it's a very interesting ask. Maybe in the future we'll see something there.
Yeah, and Scott is also asking for the roadmap for migrating from B2C to external ID.
Wow. Yes. Yeah. So we recorded a session. So if you haven't seen it, on LinkedIn, there is a podcast that me, Meryl, and Guyan did, and we actually go through all of the migration approaches that we've got, all the way from just reasserting passwords to just-in-time migration. Potentially this hybrid approach that we're looking at. So do go check out the podcast. I go into lots of detail as in terms of what are those capabilities and options that you guys will have to migrate.
So this one is about a little bit on the IR side. So what is a supported method to restore a compromised Entra ID tenant, to a particular point in time? And why is there not an option for a soft deleting security tools in Entra ID?
So soft delete is, as far as I know, people keep me honest, is in preview at the moment. So we do have that in the works, and so watch out for the announcement. For the initial question, guidance on compromised tenants. So we do have before that actually happens. So hopefully people have enough detection and response capabilities, and we have actually very detailed guidance. So we'll put the link in the chat later. It's AKMS IR playbooks. That will be the first one, so that you have security playbooks ready for all, let's say, the common attacks that we've seen in the last couple of years. And the other one that I wanted to call out is AKMS Azure AD SecOps. So that's, your SecOps guidance, like what to monitor for, how do you operate, how do you look into what's going wrong to hopefully quickly detect before you lose the complete tenant. When it's there, the recommendation is you work with a trusted partner like Microsoft. We have a compromise recovery team that can help you, recover that in a structured way. Or there are partners from Microsoft out there who have a very structured way of doing that. So definitely recommendation is, increase your detection and response capabilities so that you quickly see when things go wrong, and let us know if you see any gaps in the guidance. So we're in the process also for looking what can we update in the guidance, but definitely the existing guidance resonates very, very well.
There was a related question asking about backups, and I would say wait for Ignite. We have
I was also so wait for Ignite. There's more goodness coming in that way.
We can't share much now, but we wait for Ignite and we'll have more to share.
No, I think directionally, right? We are expanding soft delete. So when you're talking about losing a tenant, what are the components of losing your tenant? One is, okay, the bad guys came in and did a bunch of objects. So on that front, we've got deletion protection, which is a conditional access that's already out there. So that's one. The second one is, okay, deletion protection didn't work and they did delete it. Soft delete, I can recover. The third one is malicious change or incompetent change. Somebody ran a bad script or evil script and updated people's properties in a bad way. And that's where we are releasing a bunch of capabilities in Ignite around backup and restore. So you'll be able to diff objects and go back in time a number of days to restore them to a previous state. Because that was always on you to go look at the audit log and figure out which properties actually changed. Now it's going to be a lot easier. You can simply say dial back this object a day earlier. So those are generally the directions we're going. Some customers may need longer retention than whatever we offer. And then you'll have extension to third-party apps where you can explore the data and have it last longer.
Are there any plans for out-of-the-box identity assurance levels?
Who taught me this? So I wasn't that smart. He made me smart. But if you read in NIST, there's something called IAL and there's something called AAL. They're very different. There's the third one is FAL, which is Federation. That's about tokens and whether the token is intended so. But the first one is IAL, which is Identity Assurance Level. That means how sure are we given a digital account in the system? How sure are we that the account represents the actual Merrill we hired in the company? Versus someone came in at that moment in conception and presented false credentials and took over Merrill's account. And Merrill never actually got the account. AAL is about given a digital credential, how sure are we when they come back? It's how do you make sure if the time they come back the next day that they're not presented their driver's license again?
Yeah.
You give them a digital credential, a passkey, a password, an MFA, right? So when they ask about IAL, it's because this whole attack vector of people actually onboarding to your company, but they're not the real people, which is part of the whole identity verification stuff we're building, right?
So, as part of the verified ID work that we're doing, there's going to be a identity verification partner kind of integration, and I guess you'll hear more at Ignite as well, and hopefully we'll be making this much easier for you guys. But that should prove the person, whoever they are, is who they say they are, right? Like they'll have to go through an IDV flow, and that could be through like a partner like Clear or something. And only then would they get their verified ID. And then you'll be able to prove who they say they are when they present that verified ID to whichever system they might be using. So that's where we're heading with that.
And that will help even for onboarding someone.
For onboarding, yeah, to get the initial phishing-resistant credential, potentially, you get your tap, you get your passkey on board. And then same for account recovery, right? So if you've lost your credential, you'll be able to go through this flow, present that verified ID after your identity verification has completed, and then you can get back in. So that's the journey.
I guess the next question is the identity working on developing a more granular role that would enable third-party apps to authenticate without requiring use of identity global admin privileges?
So I commented saying that when they say that, I think they're describing that customers turn off consent, so end user can't use SSO third-party apps without global admins approving it. And I was explaining that that's because the customers turned off consent, not because Entra requires it. In fact, Entra actually by default doesn't require global admin to consent. It's just a lot of the large enterprises turn off because they're afraid of end user consenting to the wrong apps that are malicious or evil, not the right ones. We don't quite have, we have app publisher verification that we recommend customers do that. We recommend that customers enable end users for SSO only. So not reading your profile, reading your mail, deleting your inbox, but actually just SSO for users, for verified apps. That's our recommended posture by default. It's just some customers don't even trust that. So that's what he's running into. But I don't think Entra requires global admin for enabling SSO.
Right? User consent is on by default as far as I know, right? Yeah.
And even the docs, we've been removing the reference to global admin. So if you go and see the docs as part of SFI effort, we've made sure that
there are lesser roles that can consent, but it doesn't have to be global admin. Like there is app admin and other people that can consent. You can even delegate consent for certain apps.
So Russell is asking, you have a mix of FIDO2 keys and passkeys. In the grant controls CA, we see two options, phishing-resistant MFA and passkeys. Does this mean if you're purely passkey environment with no physical tokens, we would dial in the CA to just passkey only? It's a little confusing as you see both phishing-resistant and FIDO2.
Yeah, so phishing-resistant would include both hardware and software, right?
And Windows Hello.
And Windows Hello.
That's what's not included.
Yes, that's what's not included in passkey. That's right. So that's the difference.
Yeah. So just to call it, like if you're, and I'm working off the memory here, right? But if you're looking at that UX, that call out specifically around phishing-resistant MFA is sort of a category, and just like my colleagues here were mentioning, right? That category includes, things like certificate-based authentication, FIDO2 security keys, both, passkeys in the auth app or a passkey on a hardware key, right? As well as Windows Hello for Business. And so you can kind of check those off within that category as well.
But yeah, so the answer is if you just want passkey,
it's
select.
Yeah, that's a good call. So you could just select passkey FIDO.
If you want the.
And I think there was a nuance there that wanted to know specifically around passkeys and auth app. And there is actually advanced configuration in there within authentication strength for passkeys so that you could specifically call out like a common scenario that we see is like, I want to use FIDO2 security hardware keys, but only FIPS certified keys. And those all can be identified. And similar to the Passkeys and Authenticator app, can be identified by their AA GUID, so you can get even more granular and conditional access to the specific type of passkey you want to use.
Mark's asking, a selling point for Entra domain services is that you can move legacy workloads out of on-prem AD. And the issue they found is that providing access to resources like there becomes challenging. Are there any plans to enable DS with Entra Kerberos, as we do with the on-prem, so that the whole idea is to be able to use phishing-resistant to on-prem? And Thomas?
Yeah. Hey, Mark. Nice to virtual see you again, by the way. I wanted to answer it a little differently. So we have something called Entra Private Access, which would allow you actually to have Kerberos single sign-on from your devices, from your Entra or hybrid joint devices, and you can then, or you will have the ability to enforce your phish-resistant MFA to those legacy apps without even touching those apps. So that's actually, I would say, a better way and more scalable way. Plus, the benefit additionally is you can integrate those applications then in identity governance, right? So you can add them into a access package and lifecycle them as well, and the access. So you will get even more benefits if you integrate those applications and publish them via Entra Private Access.
Yeah, and one thing that we have found in practice, and I know, Mark, probably you have seen that as part of what you were mentioning about SSO being challenging, is like the apps themselves, the migration of the apps themselves gets tricky, right? Like some apps may have like dependencies on like the actual domain name or the OU. So this is very tricky to find the perfect app that can be cleanly migrated without like overhauling big chunks of the app. So totally agree with my colleagues here. Private access is definitely most like cost effective, predictable. Like that is the thing, right? With these migration projects, the challenge sometimes is which are the good apps that can fit that pattern. Whereas like we've been, and as probably have seen, Source of Authority is a good example where we have to meet customers where they are, and in pragmatic terms, those AD apps is where you see all the complexity. So
two questions I want to bring up from the chat. They're related. Any further plans to extend delegation of Entra objects into admin units, more roles, enterprise apps, or app registration ownerships? Another question, when will we have the same or even feasible RBAC similar to Exchange where you can scope permissions to groups of users, like mailbox reader, not for all mailboxes, but certain mailboxes, which I think is also a variant of like admin units, or being able to scope reads and writes within a tenant to a specific set of users or groups or applications. So sorry, I'll give the answers. Short answers. There are no current plans. No current plans. Any updates on syncable passkeys for Entra ID? Stay tuned for Ignite, Tom. We'll move on from that one.
I guess it's an AI question, maybe Tyler or Ehud. So with a lot of the access changing, like agents will have access to a lot of data and also privileged roles. How do you think it will impact the role of identity IAM admins to manage?
Yeah, so there is a great blog that Alex Simons published recently on why auth needs to change. And one of the challenges that we see with AI, unlike traditional apps, where they're more of a static nature, and with auth, you need to predetermine the access that is needed. With agents can evolve, agent can learn to do new things, can do existing things in different, more efficient way. And as they discover that, this means in many times there is a need for new permissions. And if we end up with the identity system that all it does is allow admin to catch up and try to figure out what permissions are needed for an agent, that task for the admin is going to be daunting and never ending. What is needed instead is a mechanism in which we are supporting dynamic discovery of permissions. And while there are some suggestions in place, there isn't an agreement in the standard world on the best path forward to go and do that. This is still in discussion. But just imagine that instead of what we have today, where the developer has to know in advance what kind of permissions are needed, and the admin has to consent to the permission, or the user has to do that. What we'll have instead is agent is discovering a new capability, and then goes to the resource provider of that capability, and in exchange understands what are the specific permissions that are needed in order to perform the task at hand. And with that, the agent can go back to whoever is the authoritative approver to go and surface that. As we progress further, you can think about even on a system where you can set the boundaries, where what is an agent capable of approving on its own. Maybe there is a supervisory agent that helps assist in that case to make sure that we're not running wild with the permission. But the idea is that we're heading toward a more dynamic permissioning, both on the discovery side as well as in the consent, with sufficient guardrails for the admin to make sure that things don't run wild, assisted by AI to reduce the burden from the admins.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks, Edward. Ramiro, the next one is for you. So Siva is asking, in the event of an acquisition, is there an official process for merging Entra ID tenants, including users, groups, and applications? So he's asking, like, what's the official guidance for like acquisitions when you have multiple tenants?
Well, that's a great question, and I don't know if we have a one size fits all answer for that. One of the things that we have kind of observed and acknowledges as a lot of customers want to stay in a multi-tenant for business agility reasons or for operational reasons, even for other non-technical reasons. At a high level, for the best experience, we want to encourage organizations to have the least amount of tenants as possible. But as I said, we're also acknowledging that a lot of companies stay multi-tenants, and what we have been kind of investing on is in creating capabilities that allows customers who choose to be in that state to have more seamless experiences. So for example, cross-tenancy is a great case where if you have two companies that want to collaborate, quote unquote, as one, we bring these capabilities. Similarly, we have features for the opposite, right? So if you put like the Lego blocks together, we also have guesting a user and then convert that guest from that guest into a member, and then eventually making a local account. So we allow those two, but as far as what is our best practice recommendation, that is ultimately something each customer has to choose. And what I have found is 9 times out of 10, it's driven by business reasons, not necessarily technical reasons.
Thanks a lot, Ramiro. So the next one is on, I think what Tariq you asked before, we need the answer. So the question is on enterprise applications and how you can apply RBAC scoped permissions. What's Microsoft plans? For example, like with Exchange, you can scope it to just one policy or one mailbox instead of, like when you say mail.send, instead of being able to send as any user, you can limit it to a certain mailbox. Will it come to other areas as well? So there is a blog post, and I'll include the link once I find it. We shared recently, because in the AI space, as AI world evolves, it becomes even more important to be able to make it very granular. And we talked of things like even timed permission, not just saying an AI agent can send email as a user. The user can say, I'm only giving you permission to send mail in the next, half an hour or next 1 hour.
Or 3 days or something.
Or 3 days, and then the permission gets removed. So those are all things we are looking into, and we want the OAuth spec to evolve, because it's not just a Microsoft thing. It has to be supported by all of the partners and vendors who are building applications. So we are working across industry to bring those and make it work.
Yeah, this is part of the thing. I think I want people, there are a lot of folks asking questions about traditional IAM, and it's perfectly, this is where the ball is, right? But I want people to keep their eyes on where the ball is going as well. And the challenge that Ehud was describing earlier is that it is very hard to give an agent exactly scope permissions like you're asking. Meaning that, yes, it's perfectly understandable for apps to say, okay, this app sends invoices on behalf of the sales team, so I will give it mailbox access to the sales team and nobody else. That's the right least privilege, just enough access approach. No, nothing wrong with that. With agents, you will talk to your agent, Jazz, and say, hey, book me a conference room. And now he needs permissions to Teams, and he needs permissions to Graph to look up your team, and then book a room. Tomorrow, you'll ask it to book a flight. And if I just keep giving it the permissions that it needs, it will have all your permissions over time. So he needs to lose access every now and then. Like, it can't just keep accumulating all the permissions of things you asked him for. Then he's just you, right? So it's dynamic by nature. It's not enough to simply say, I need to prescribe ahead of time everything is going to need, because that will just be, stardust stuff. Someone's asking, what about Entra ID governance? Is it going to replace MIM? Do you want to take that one, Ramiro? T's on the call too. We can also ask T.
Sure. Let's see if T agrees with me. But so as you probably have seen our strategy in general, we are focusing more to address scenarios rather than go like by like, box by box from on-premises products. So it's going to be a journey to help customers to be completely able to do things exactly as they have in the previous tool. So typically, there's always a long tail or very small percentage of scenarios that we won't do in the cloud, mainly because maybe it's not a secure practice anymore. So longer term, the short answer is we would love all customers to use Entra ID governance in the cloud. That may require them to do some things differently that probably a tool like MIM allows them to do. But that is kind of broad strokes, long-term questions. But I just want to tell you right off the bat that we are not necessarily focusing on replace MIM exactly about like by like, but mostly to help customers to get out of it over time.
Cool. Perfect. Awesome. So we are at the top of the hour. Thanks a lot for everyone who joined in and asked all the fun questions. Let us know if you found this useful. If you want us to do more,
Do it again.
we can get, people who are
Tobias-
specialists in
Tobias
different
wants more.
areas to jump on as well. So thank you all for joining in. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.